What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. We're back with another edition of the Snap Counts podcast, where we kind of take a look at the day in the NFL, you know, discuss some, I don't know, storylines and just everything that comes along with it. We're coming up to the start of the playoffs. We got teams clinching, we got teams being eliminated, so it's kind of paring down everything. So we'll take a look at all that, trying to make sense of another kind of wild day around the NFL. So before we even get into all that, Trajan, Wisconsin Sports on the Go, make sure you go check them out. How are you doing tonight?
Well, the Packers did not lose today, but they did lose on Thursday. So that was good today. I didn't know what to do, right? I mean, it was a rough week for me. Badger basketball loses to Marquette, which stinks. Marquette fans are like, they just won the Super Bowl. I got to listen to them freak out for a while here. Packers lost to Lions. I got to listen to Lions fans tell me that the Packers ain't nothing anymore. Like, it's been that kind of weekend. Like, just I don't know. And there's no Packer football on Sundays. I just kind of get lost. I was watching the Vikings and the Falcons today, and like trying to cheer for Kirk Cousins and this craptastic Falcons team right now is just impossible. So I didn't even know what to do.
Look, there are a lot of teams that you can't really rely on. I would say if you're banking on the Falcons showing up and getting a win for you, you might want to be cautious with that, especially on the road. That game was in Minnesota, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
So yeah, if it was in Atlanta, you might feel a little better about yourself, but in Minnesota, I didn't give them much of a shot in that one at all. But I think that's a good place to start, though. I feel like we kind of start this conversation like every week. The NFC, we kind of know who Detroit is. But once again, after showing this week where, like you said, the Vikings have a good win, well, a blowout win, was against the Falcons team that's now under 500. We saw the Eagles struggle against a group in Carolina that is playing better for sure. And, if you don't bring your A game, like they will make the game interesting and close. I think after that, it's kind of like whatever. But, like, who is the second best team in the NFC? Who do you trust more at this point?
I honestly thought, this is going to be my honest opinion, after I watched the Lions on Thursday against the Packers, even before that, I was like, this Eagles team, right now, due to injury, they are the most complete team in the NFC. Like, that's the way I was sitting. I was like, the Lions are banged up. They played well. They played inspired football on Thursday against Green Bay. That defense came out hot, bunch of no-names out there, and they played well. So I don't want to, degrade the Lions at all. But I wanted to say the Eagles. Now I watch this, and yeah, the Panthers are playing inspired football right now, and they're just giving it their all. They have nothing to lose. And the Eagles kind of came out flat-footed in this one. Ended up squeaking it out, and it was due to, the Panthers delay a game, right? It was 4th and 4, I believe. Ended up being 4th and 9 or whatever it was instead there. Like that hurts. That hurts. And it's not like Saquon didn't have a good day, 20 carries for 124 yards. Like he had a good day in this one. The Panthers, they just found ways to get stops, get off the field. Jalen Hurts didn't have his greatest day, 14 for 21, 2 touchdowns. Nothing crazy about that stat line. Efficient, but the Panthers got home. 4 sacks in that game. They found ways to exploit that offensive line that I thought was getting really good for the Eagles. They found ways to get past, get in there, get Jalen Hurts on the ground. Some of these games, it's hard. It's hard to say that the Eagles aren't the second best team just because they only beat the Panthers by 6. I think the good teams find ways to win games like this. Look at the Chiefs. We're not knocking the Chiefs, and the Chiefs pull out how many close ones, right? Against, I don't know if they're Carolina Panthers bad, but they're still bad. They pulled out that close one against the Raiders, right? And I know that's divisional, but against the Raiders in that one. And this was a game where the Eagles kind of came in flat-footed, found their way to win this game, and that's, I guess, all you can ask for. This goes to show what I was talking about on my show the other day, that, the Packers, they're not out of this. They could go on the road and beat the Eagles. They could go on the road and beat the Lions yet, right? There's NFC, I feel like, is a little more wide open than what we all thought. I think the Lions are on top. I 100% agree the Lions are on top right now. After that, it's the Eagles, but I'm not saying that third place team couldn't go and beat these teams on the road. And the way the Vikings play today, the defense is solid. I mean, the Falcons, yeah, Kirk Cousins can throw a game away, but the defense is solid for the Vikings. Sam Darnold plays efficient football. He doesn't, I don't believe that he's up there with the top quarterbacks in the league, but he plays
Right.
efficient football to get the job done. They have a great head coach. They win close games. I mean, how many have they won this season here? It's ridiculous. But, and I see Anthony just said there can't start slow in the playoffs. The Packers, too. You look, what was the difference in the Packers-Lions game on Thursday night? The Packers win a quarter and a half before they decided to, hey, let's get the offense going tonight here. And then after that, they looked good and they took the Lions to the wire. Just imagine if that quarter and a half, they came away with a touchdown on one of their first 3 drives instead of that, right? So it tells me that this NFC, outside of the Lions, I really do think you look at the top 4 because I don't look at, there might be a surprise, right? Maybe if the Rams got in, I could see the Rams maybe going on the road and pulling off an upset win or something. I don't trust the Cardinals. I don't trust Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is scrappy, but I just don't trust them. I was trying to think of other teams that are in there too, but I mean, I look at the rest of this list of teams here. The one that would scare me the most going on the road would maybe be, the Commanders or the Rams. Those would be my 2 teams. Outside of that, Cardinals, Seattle. I don't trust Geno Smith in Seattle. I don't trust Kyler with the Cardinals. You don't know what you're getting. Tampa Bay Falcons. None. After watching today with the Falcons, they might be out of it already. And looking at Tampa Bay, yes, they got Mike Evans back. Yes, they play solid football, but Baker's turning the football over today here a couple times, which hurt him. I'm looking at this here and I'm saying it's Packers, Vikings, Lions, Eagles, and any of those teams could go on. Those 2 in the Packers and Vikings could go on the road and pull off upsets there. I just I don't know who to trust. I really don't, because I mean, you look at the Lions game, right? And we're gonna live in a what if world here. What if?
Okay.
What if Dan Campbell goes for it on 4th and inches and the Packers get another stop? Or they go for it on 4th and goal twice and multiple times in 2 games. In 2 games against the Packers, they went for 4th and goal multiple times and they got it. They got the touchdown on there. Let's just say you take one of those off. Let's just say you take 2 of those off. Now we're looking at the Packers-Lions games in a different perspective. Because if they didn't get one of those 4th and goals, the Packers got to stop. There's 7 points. The Packers win. Packers win that second game there. So you live in that what if. What if Dan Campbell wasn't dragging his balls across the ground as he's walking around, right? It's living in that what if world there, and that's why I believe that the Lions could slip up. Dan Campbell is a great coach. He's a great coach, and he's got a great offensive coordinator up there. And that's why I feel like he goes for it on 4th down all the time, because he knows he's going to draw up a great play on 4th down to get that first down. My biggest thing is when you get into the playoffs, and what's the smart decision versus what's the ballsy decision? What could hurt you? He makes those hurt you decisions. He does. And that's fine. When it works, we praise him. We're like, this guy knows what he's doing. But when it doesn't work, like against the 49ers last season, everybody's like, this guy's an idiot. Why is he so stupid? He can't be doing that. Somebody else has to make that decision. That's my kicker with the Lions is when it fails, when it does fail, because it will fail. When it fails, then what are we looking at? Then are we looking at one of those scores like the Packers game where if the Packers get that 4th down stop, say they meet them a 3rd time in the playoffs, they get that 4th down stop. What are we looking at now? The Packers coming out on top on the road, right? Same with the Eagles. What if they go into Ford Field and they get a stop on 4th down? Because it's hard. They have a big front there, a defensive front there. They get a stop. Then what, right? Then the Eagles have a jump on them. So I look at this NFC and I'm like, how wide open is it? The Lions are on top, but I'm not saying that there isn't a team in that top 4 that couldn't go into the other guy's house and beat them right now. I really don't think there is. The Lions have eked some out lately here, and there's cracks in that armor. They had this nice armor on, and it didn't look like it was touchable. These last couple weeks, the Bears, the Packers, they've exposed holes. And I feel like if you took the Eagles, and not after today, but before today, I thought the Eagles could go into Ford Field right now and pull off a win. I really did think that, and I still think that. I think the Lions are not untouchable like people want to make them out to be. They are not untouchable by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, look, if you're looking at the NFC, I agree. The conversation after Detroit right now is basically the Eagles over the Packers or Vikings, I guess. And the Vikings will still Sam Darnold. I think the Packers have the talent for sure. I think they have the quarterback in Jordan Love, and based off of last season, they have the experience. The Eagles have the experience of the past couple of years. Getting to that point of being in the Super Bowl, losing, wanting to get back there. But I think with your overarching point that I guess the invincibility with the Lions has been kind of knocked out for the past couple of weeks.
They hype it up
And,
more than what it feels like it
yeah.
is now because it's exposed. It's
Mhm.
exposed, and the Packers, I feel like, exposed it. They just couldn't get it done. They couldn't get the stop. 4 for 5 on fourth down. Like they
Yeah.
could not get that one stop on fourth down. They could have completely changed that game from what it was.
Yeah. And I give Detroit credit. They go for it on fourth down, even if they don't convert. It doesn't seem like it lingers with the team. Like they will come back right back around another fourth down. They'll go for it. Like they could fail 20 times in a game, but you don't really see anything different with the team or with Dan Campbell. Because I do say if you're a coach and that's what you like to do, you might as well stay true to yourself because when you try to do what you're not used to, a lot of times that's where you get in trouble and the team just doesn't look right. So I feel like with
I'd
Dan
hate to be
Campbell,
Aaron Glenn. I would hate to be Aaron Glenn. Like you, even
yeah,
in that one where they went for it, it was 4th and 2, and the Packers
mm-hmm.
got the stop, and it was at their own 30-yard line. Like now you have to set up your defense, and they're basically
Just
in the
off
red
that
zone
short
already, and
field, yeah,
you're like, I know you have to all be in cahoots on it, right?
yeah,
And I mean Ben Johnson's fantastic. So I mean that guy watching is Ben Johnson, right? That's the
yeah,
Ben Johnson.
yeah,
Yep. Watching some of his play calls the other night, like it's just masterclass. Like
mm-hmm.
if I was Dan Campbell and I was 4th and 2, I would have him make a play call. I would. I maybe not on my own 30. I don't know if I'm that ballsy, but watching some of his play calls, and it's just like he always finds a hole, finds a way to
Mm-hmm.
get a guy open or anything like that. It's ridiculous, and it just ticks me off sometimes watching it. But I mean, it's great. It is absolutely fantastic. So I mean, sorry for cutting you off there. I just wanted to say
No, no, no.
about that
Mm-hmm.
D coordinator there because that sucks to have your head coach always constantly going for 4th down, and you
Mm-hmm.
know that if they don't get it, like we're going back out there and we're on the 30-yard line already. Like this sucks.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of balls and a lot of just confidence in going for it in the positions that they do. But it's worked so far. Like they're 12
Yeah.
and one. It's hard to really argue against their way that they go about it. I think Anthony's question here, speaking of the other team with that Minnesota Falcons game, if we're the coach of the Falcons and you're out of it, basically, do you keep Kirk or see what you have in Penix and start Penix? Because a couple of weeks ago, it looked like the Bucks were ready to fall off and that the Falcons were going to sit there and take over. They've done everything but that. Basically, when the Bucks were struggling, the Falcons struggled. The Bucks have turned it around. The Falcons have continued to struggle. And now you look up, the Bucks at 7-6 have taken over the lead in the NFC South. Falcons are now 6-7. They're staring at a road game with the Vegas Raiders. They have a home game with the Giants, and they have a road game with the Commanders, and then home for the Panthers. And as we just talked about, Panthers are no walk in the park anymore. Commanders will be in a position to be a playoff team, so they'll have something to play for. The Giants are the Giants, and the Raiders are whatever. But even with those two teams, like the way the Falcons are playing right now, would you be surprised if they went to Vegas and lost to the Raiders? Because I wouldn't. There's no
No, I
reason
wouldn't.
to trust in Atlanta anymore, and so because of that, if they wanted to throw Penix out there just to see what he has at the end of the season, I wouldn't hate it at all.
I guess the biggest question is you're not out of it, right? You're not out
Yeah.
of the playoff chase. Do you feel like Penix is going to give you that spark? Is he good enough right now where you could throw him out there and he is going to he's going to be able to lead you to where you want to get, which is the playoffs, because you're just behind the Buccaneers. That's the biggest question. And then, okay, let's just say Penix does light it up. Let's just say he lights it up. You owe Kirk Cousins next year $27.5 million on his contract for a base salary. He has a $12 million signing bonus on the backside of that. Now, there is a potential out in 2026. So you can get out of that contract. You're going to have a dead cap hit, but you're still going to be stuck with him for another season because nobody's making a trade for him with you, unless if they're nuts. Maybe the Raiders or somebody like that would make a stupid deal like that. But how do you justify sitting a guy who makes, I mean, right now he's only making a 12.5, which isn't bad, but how do you justify if he does do good, making him sit next season? That's hard to do. That's hard to do. Would I make the switch? Yes, I would make the switch. After watching Kirk Cousins today, I don't feel like you're going to take a step back. Now it's going to be on coach. It's going to be on the head coach to say, Michael Penix can give me a better chance to win right now. He can give me a better chance to win these football games. I don't even know, watching them today, why they went away from Bijan so much, why they went to the pass game so much. I don't understand it. Watching that football game, I'm watching him move the football with Bijan. He'd crack off 7 yards. He'd crack off, 6 yards. And I'm like, just go back to him. Give it to him again. Just let him keep pounding the rock. And they kept going away from him. And I'm like, he ended the day with 92 yards and 22 carries, but Kirk Cousins also threw 37 times there. Now, yes, you were behind late in this one, but I would have just set the tone with the run game, maybe work some simple routes. I mean, he's trying to chuck deep balls. He's trying to do things that I have never seen Kirk Cousins been able to do in his entire NFL career. So I don't know. Do you make the change? I would. Will they make the change? Probably not. And if I was going to make a change, I'd look at my defense too, because their defense sucked today. So,
yeah. So I agree with you there. I don't think they make the change. I want Kirk to kind of work here in Atlanta, but it just seems like the energy, the momentum has gotten stagnant with them right now. So, like I said, if they went out against Vegas and stunk it up and lost that one, I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. I just think that a lot of their issues are probably more on the defensive side than necessarily the offensive side. Because, look, they still struggle to pressure quarterbacks. And I think that that's probably their biggest issue, even with the whole Matthew Judon acquisition before the season. It hasn't really changed much of anything up front defensively. So if you can't get to the quarterbacks in this league are just too good that if you just give them time back there, they will pick apart your second and your third level defense. So I think the Falcons have to look at this and say, if we did make the switch to Penix, would anything look different on the field? If the answer is no, then you don't do it.
Yeah.
The argument for it is, even if Kirk Cousins finishes this season and you happen to make the playoffs, are you going to actually win a playoff game? Because at the current pace, it looks like that NFC South winner will have the Vikings coming into their building on Wild Card Weekend. And we've just seen that matchup in Minnesota where Darnold was finding guys downfield. He was, burning that secondary. Would you have any confidence in a month from now, that same matchup, the Vikings don't do the same thing to you, only in Atlanta this time?
Oh, they'll torch you.
Probably not.
They'll torch you. They'll torch you
So,
left. Right.
So then at that point, it's like we keep Cousins. Maybe we make the playoffs, but we're not going anywhere. We start Penix. Even if he fails, we still weren't going anywhere, much less make the playoffs. That was no longer a guarantee because of the weeks that you messed around and lost some games before today.
Yep.
So I think they're in a tough situation. Like, I feel like either decision that they make, you could see the reason for it.
You ready for your answer?
Also be upset that they. Okay, let's hear it.
So after the game, Raheem Morris said, everything is always discussed when you go watch tape and do all those things, but Kirk Cousins is our quarterback. We'll have the ability to go watch the tape just like we do every single week. Yep. Kirk played significantly better than he did the week before. So he's saying that because he didn't throw 4 interceptions, he threw 2 interceptions.
Progress.
And he played better than he did last week there. But if I know head coaches change their mind, and I know this could be just media talk, but according to what he's telling us, Kirk Cousins is the guy. Like, he's the guy. We just gotta move on with it. This is something that I am really unfamiliar with Kirk Cousins, just because every time you watch him with the Vikings, he's efficient. He'd always 3,000 yards and a bunch of touchdowns and rarely threw an interception. And he'd make the safe pass. And it was all just boom, boom, nothing crazy. He wasn't a crazy quarterback. He was just an efficient quarterback. Now it's like, it's almost like, who's having it worse right now, Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins right now? Like, who's having it worse in this season? Because both those guys flip teams, both those guys coming off injury, both those guys struggling. Like, it's so odd that, at one point, these guys were battling out in the NFC North, and now they're flipping script here and going outskirts, and both struggling right now. So it's just odd. It is definitely odd there to see kind of the downfall of what I didn't expect coming, right? And I think a lot of that is, I know you don't like Kyle Pitts, but he doesn't even use Kyle Pitts. Like, Kyle Pitts has got some athletic ability to him, and he doesn't even utilize Kyle Pitts. I think today was his first catch in 5 games? I'm like, what? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, yeah, maybe he has problems getting open. Yeah, maybe it's routes or anything like that. But still, I mean, he had on his one interception, he had Kyle Pitts wide open down the center of the field, and he ended up clearing his head and throwing it to the outside. So, I mean, just ridiculous as John comes in with the quack. Aaron's not here, John. He's not here. So it doesn't affect me, man. It doesn't affect
right. me. I mean, because Anthony did put this, like, why draft a quarterback if you're not going to play him until 2026? I mean, I was wondering that when they made the pick. A lot of people tried to make it out to be one of the smarter picks of the first round. I guess we'll have to see. Like, if they do end up waiting till 2026, it was a waste. If they plan on using him maybe next year, whatever. The Kyle Pitts pick, the further we get from it, it's like the less and less that I like it. Because I saw a play today, he was running a drag route. Kirk Cousins put it on his hands, and he dropped it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think it's to the point where I think Cousins just doesn't trust him. And based on how his tenure's gone in Atlanta, I can't say I blame him. He'd rather throw to Darnell Mooney because Darnell Mooney has made plays for him. He'd rather throw to Ray McLeod because Ray McLeod has made plays for him. He'd rather throw to Drake London. I think Drake London's like hit or miss from week to week, but Drake London's made plays. If you could name your favorite Kyle Pitts play, it might be the only play he's made so far in the league. So I just think Cousins is just like, I'll look to him. May not throw it there, but I'll at least look because he does have talent. It's just that he hasn't shown it.
Yep.
Like, he was supposed to be Brock Bowers. That's who Kyle Pitts was supposed to be, Brock Bowers, and Brock Bowers is better at it than Kyle Pitts
Bowers
is right now.
Is a dog. That guy's a dog.
But that's what Kyle Pitts is supposed to be. He's supposed to be a tight end with like wide receiver skills and all this kind of stuff. Has not shown any of that so far.
I agree. I bring up Anthony's, the one right before John's losing it about his Ducks again. The one right before that there, his comment there.
Anthony's comment?
Yeah, Anthony's comment there.
Was it this one? The Lions one?
No, two up from that there. About drafting a quarterback.
Oh. Hold on. This one.
The $1 million question. Everybody's asked the same thing. Why did you bring in Kirk Cousins for a 4-year contract worth a boatload of money if you were drafting a quarterback so high in the draft? It didn't make sense. Nothing made sense of that. And now, like you're saying, sitting him until 2026 doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. The Falcons, I don't know if they just screwed up what they did. I have no idea, but that is the dumbest thing that they could have done. You're not bringing in a franchise quarterback in Kirk Cousins. That's not what you're bringing in. This is like a Sam Darnold kind of guy. You're bringing in a placeholder. All he's doing is holding it over for another year. Now you're at a point where you're like, we got to bench this guy we just paid all this money to bring in a quarterback that we were hoping to develop behind him, which that would be my one pushback on starting Penix right now, is I hate throwing guys to the wolves. I hate it. I hate it all the time. Rookie quarterbacks, throwing him in there and just praying for the best, right? Always praying for the best. And everybody's like, well, why didn't this one work out? Why did Bryce Young suck right away? Why is this guy not good? Why is this? You threw him to the Wolves and you expected him just to figure it out on the fly. He's not going to figure it out on the fly. Let him sit there. Let him watch. Let him learn. Mm-hmm. He's not learning much watching Kirk Cousins right now, but let him learn something while sitting there on an NFL bench. Because if anybody, nobody has figured this out yet, because I don't know what it is, but to college to the NFL is a different ball game. A different ball game. And I don't care that it's the Giants. I don't care that it's the Giants. I don't care if they're playing the Raiders. I don't care if they're playing the freaking 0-16 Browns, right? It doesn't matter. You throw college guys against an NFL team, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work because it's a different speed. It's a different level. It's a different thought process that you go in an NFL game. Because all these cornerbacks that he will see with the Giants, maybe they're not the best cornerbacks in the NFL, but they're maybe better than the guys he saw in college at Oregon State or wherever it is. So I completely agree. Yes. Would he maybe be the better option right now? Sure. And I'm not trying to take a knock on Penix right now, but I truthfully believe the Packers have done it right multiple times now. You have Favre, you bring in Rodgers, he sits behind him, he learns for a while. Rodgers goes through his career there. And then when you felt like Rodgers was at the end, you brought in Jordan Love and you sat him. You did not flirt with the idea of Jordan Love. Even when the Packers were down, you didn't float with it. You said, screw it. I'm going to bring in Love when he's ready, when I know he's ready. And that's when they put him out there. Yeah, they had to throw him out there in a season when Rodgers got hurt twice. But, I mean, they didn't do it, right? And that's where I think, I don't want to say the Falcons are doing the right. I do. I want to say they're doing the right thing. I want quarterbacks to learn behind guys because I feel like that's the biggest problem in the league now is we just bring rookie quarterbacks in and just expect them to produce. And look at CJ Stroud right now. Yeah, he produced year one, but guess what? When NFL defenses started to figure him out and figure out his tendencies and everything like that, look at the downfall. How far does he fall? How far does he fall now? Bryce Young, he was the number one pick in the draft, right? How far did he fall before they sat him on the bench, let him watch for a while? Now they bring him back out, and he's playing good football again. Now, I'm not saying Penix is going to be the same way. He might come in, and he might be a great Pro Bowl quarterback, and I would love to see it. I have nothing against Penix. I think he's a great quarterback. I loved him at Washington. He was a great quarterback at Washington. I liked him when he was at Indiana. I thought he was a good quarterback there. But I don't see the benefit of just throwing out this narrative that if we just bring Penix in, it's all going to fix itself. It's all just going to get better if we bring Penix in. Yes, Kirk Cousins is sucking, but at what point do you just say, I'm done? Like, at what point do you just say the season's kind of, if the season's lost, then sure, then throw him out there, right? If the season's lost, throw him out there. But at this point, your season's not lost. It's not. Why put the pressure on Penix right now to try and lead you out of this hole? If you're in a hole already and there's no way out of it, bring Penix in. There's no pressure. Now he can just play football. Bryce Young is playing zero pressure football right now with the Panthers, and it shows because he played a pretty darn good game against a pretty darn good Eagles defense today. Yep. And I love to see that from him because I was praying that he would figure it out, and he's slowly starting to figure it out. And I like that. I love that. So I'm saying with Penix, I would not start him next week. I wouldn't. You stick with Kirk Cousins. If you somehow lose this next game, who do they play next?
Raiders.
If you lose to the Raiders, all right, now, if it's, excuse me there, if it's Kirk Cousins' fault that you lost to the Raiders, now you go to bench. Yeah. Now you put him on the bench. But if Kirk Cousins plays a heck of a game and your defense just sucks and you lose that football game, okay. Now we're looking at a different landscape, right? Same with the Giants. If you lose to the Giants, okay. Losing to the Commanders, I don't know if I put that on but Panthers. You lose that game to the Panthers, now we're looking at a different landscape. But you have winnable games coming up right now. You get Kirk Cousins right heading into the playoffs. I feel like you're fine. I do. I feel like you're fine. I think that's the way you work it.
Yeah, I mean, the Penix thing is just like the Penix drafting in the first round is like you're a team that you brought in Kirk Cousins because you feel like you're close, and if you feel that way, then if you want to draft your next quarterback, normally teams like that wouldn't use it in the first round because they would target another area for the first round to take a team that seems like they're close and get them even closer. Because what are the Falcons needed for years now? Pass rush. That would have been the perfect place to go in the first round. You can get your quarterback third, fourth round maybe, because at that point you're drafting a guy who's not a finished product, who's kind of, you got to develop a little bit. So if they sit for a little while, there's no pressure. Penix was coming into this off of the run in Washington, where they made the playoff. So Penix is right there in your face week in and week out. And most people looked at Penix as like, that's kind of a finish. That's a polished college quarterback.
Yeah.
So if you're taking that guy, the fan base is going to be like, oh, we got Penix. Like, we got to play Penix now. What are we waiting around for? But then they're like, oh, but we still got Kirk Cousins. So, Kirk Cousins is going to start. It's like you're saying, like I'm saying to the people in the chat, it's like, so what did you need Penix for?
Yep.
And I get Kirk Cousins coming off the ankle injury and all that. But you knew that when you drafted him. When you signed him in free agency. You knew all that about Kirk Cousins coming off of that. So I think it's a situation where the Falcons probably overvalued where their team was in the grand scheme of the NFC, thinking that they were close. They just needed an upgraded quarterback. When actually they're further away than they probably realized, because the pass rush is still non-existent, which now puts even more pressure on the secondary. So the secondary now doesn't look as good as I think they actually are. And then even offensively, Pitts is non-existent. I feel like Drake London has his games where you forget he's out there. Younghoe Koo's had maybe like his worst season in a while because he's not as automatic on kicks as he has been. So I just think this is a year where the Falcons just messed up.
Well, and how many times did you drive it into the red zone and it got on the 5-yard line and there was a holding call today? Twice. There was at least twice.
That's always been a problem.
There was a holding call. And then you get backed up. And now Bijan, like I was talking about, his usage is gone, right? So now I don't know. Yes, this game, you can blame it on Kirk Cousins, but you look at the penalties, 12 penalties in this game here for a boatload of yards. Like, that hurts. That hurts. You killed yourself in this game. And like you're saying, I don't believe that this Falcons team was as close as they get. Yes, they have weapons. They do. Drake London, fantastic. Kyle Pitts, I feel like he could be good. He's like my Dontavian Wicks for the Packers, right? He's got ability. We know it's there. It's just, can he catch football? Can he make those big plays when I need him to? That's a big question. We haven't seen it yet. Bijan's fantastic. Mooney he's solid, right? So they have playmakers, but the offensive line, I don't know about the offensive line. I look at the defensive line. They're terrible. There's no pass rush. And then you look at the secondary. They're getting beat up right now. How many times today do we watch Justin Jefferson just running across the field wide open? Like, if I'm running a secondary, the one guy that I'm making sure is in check is Justin Jefferson. After that, Addison's going to run wide open because those two are a dynamic duo out there. But, I mean, you gotta check in for playmakers. And I feel like there was a lot of other things that went wrong for this Falcons team today. Yes, 2 interceptions hurt. I completely agree. But there was a lot of things that went wrong for the Falcons that they could have avoided some of those drives, or they could have put more points on the board in this game if they would have in the red zone. No holding calls, right? 2 of them, 2 times getting down in the red zone where you get pushed back. Just hurts. It just hurts. So yes, Kirk Cousins is not playing his best football, and I don't think he's that great. I don't. But I don't feel like he's the sole reason why they're losing all these football games. You could put it on a lot of guys. You could put it on a lot of guys here. Kirk Cousins is definitely to blame, but there's a lot of other guys on that list.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of where it is. They're just a mid-level team. Like, that's all it is. They thought they were better. They're not, and now they're gonna have an off season where daily it's gonna be the wonder: do you trot Kirk back out there one more year and potentially waste another year of the Penix experience, or do you just kind of take your losses with Cousins in the contract, throw Penix out there, and hope Penix is just better? Which, if he is, then you could say Atlanta probably lucked into it. But if they also play Penix and he struggles with Kirk Cousins on the sideline, with the price tag that he has, how patient will the coaching staff and the fan base be with Penix to not just say, we'll put Kirk back out there? At least Kirk has seen all this. So the Falcons have put themselves in a weird situation. We'll see what they do with it. I know Damien's going on, has joined Anthony and John in the chat. Damien saying, Kirk Cousins is very overrated. should have been benched. He hasn't been good since Washington. I wouldn't go that far because he had a couple of good years in
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah.
If you gave him a defense, this is coming from a Packer fan. If you gave him a defense with Minnesota a couple of those years, I thought they could have been contenders. I really do. He was efficient. He never did anything stupid. He just made the plays he was supposed to make.
Yeah. All right, let's move to some other teams because they don't want to just focus on Atlanta and Minnesota. Although I will say, with the 4 o'clock window, the Bills are making a comeback on the Rams, although the Rams are driving again. The Niners look like they're handling business with Chicago. I guess they run across a couple of these other scores to get you all updated if you missed. The Dolphins beat the Jets 32-26 in overtime in a game that ultimately means nothing to most of the country. But we'll say Rodgers did pass for over 300 yards in this game, his first time in a few years. They still lost, so even when they do finally get a good Aaron Rodgers game, they're still not good enough to win right now.
Well, and he did walk them down the field, and they took the lead late there. His defense let him down. I mean, he orchestrated a drive to set up a game go-ahead field goal, and the defense couldn't shut him down. Dolphins got the ball back, went down, kicked the field goal, and then they score right away in overtime. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about the overtime rules? Should both teams get a shot at the ball? What do you think?
No, because I feel like if the first team gets the touchdown, all you're doing as a second team is trying to match them. So I think if they score a touchdown, that should be it. Now, I didn't like overtimes ending with the first team kicking a field goal. In that instance, I'm fine with the other team getting the ball. But if I score a touchdown first, like I did all I could, your defense didn't stop me. Why should you then get a shot at it? Yeah. So I think it's fine with the way it is. I know every time it's an overtime game, I think fans look at the overtime rules and some have a problem with it. I don't. I really don't.
I can see that. I just sometimes it sucks. You know, you think about it. What if Josh Allen got a chance to touch the football? Like, what would have happened? What would have happened in this playoff game? I mean, I could see it.
The argument against that is, how did the defense allow Mahomes to do what he did? Was that 15 seconds? Like, at that point,
that was
do you
ridiculous.
Really deserve?
No. But I mean, you look at even my favorite was when Baker went to overtime against the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes won the coin flip, and then like you just see it in his expression, he's like, "Crap, like here we go." But if Baker got a shot with the football, then it's like, we know what's gonna happen here. So I mean, I can see it from both ways. I feel like I don't know. Is it almost too much if both teams had a chance to possess the football? And then what do you do if both teams score? Do you just give the ball back to the other team?
Right. It's like I go down, I score a touchdown. The other team goes down. They score a touchdown. Now the first offense, you're standing back out there where they're like, well, we already scored a touchdown first. Why do we now have to go down and do it again? Because even with that rule, it's like both teams score first. Then it's the next score wins anyway.
Yeah. So could you almost, you could do a sudden death. I like that.
Yeah. The overtime rule changed for the playoffs. Yes, in the playoffs, I'm okay with it. In the playoffs. Yeah, that's fine. But some people want like this rule in the regular season. I don't think
I wouldn't hate it. I don't think it'd be the worst thing that they've ever done.
I wouldn't hate it. I'll say that I wouldn't hate it if they changed it. I just don't think it's something that needs to change. If they wanted to change it, I would be fine with that.
I do like what Damian said there. You know, let it just run the clock. Like whoever's got the lead when the clock stops, that's when we end it. Most of the time you go into an overtime, you got 10 minutes. I mean, most of the time you're going to the first team who has the ball is going to run 3/4 of the dang clock out anyway. If they put together a successful drive, which a ground and pound, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, you're going to burn off like 6 minutes at least anyways. You might as well let the other team touch the ball for 5 minutes.
So I guess with this, though, would it be I score and then you score as the clock hits 0? We're tied. There's just become a sudden death period after that.
Yep. I do sudden death.
Yeah.
You could almost do college football rules. Start them out to 25. Who can score?
Even the college football rules, though, it's like,
College football, the dumbest thing they do is switch ends of the field. That's the dumbest thing that they do. Just stay on one end of the
yeah,
field. Why do we have to keep switching? Like that Georgia Tech game, I'm watching that overtime, and it's like, okay, both of them don't get the 2-point conversion. Now we have to wait for them all to walk to the other end of the
yeah,
field to set it up again, and then they come back down here and set it up again. It's like, just stay right here. Like, why? It doesn't give you an advantage to go to that end zone versus that end zone. They're both the
right,
same. The yardage is the same. Like, it's
yeah.
just, I thought that was silly. No, I thought they should go sudden death kicker rule in college. Like after we get to like 5 or 6 overtimes, we just put the kickers out at like, the 45 or 50-yard line and just who can make it? Who can make it from here? And if they both miss, then you move them in like 5 yards. Like, who can make it from
Yeah.
here? And then if they both bang it, then you back them up again. And you're like, hit it from here. So you just keep moving them back. I like the sudden death kicker rule. Put some pressure on the kickers.
Yeah, because the only thing I don't necessarily like or still needs to grow on me is the fact that after a certain point, it just turns into a 2-point conversion contest.
Third overtime.
Yeah, I still think that's a little odd, but I get it. But then, even with that, you still had 8 overtimes, like you said, Georgia Tech. It was just two teams that couldn't convert 2-point conversions, failing and failing
Yeah.
after each other.
One would get it, and they'd be like, "Oh, there we go. The Rams just took a bigger lead here. They went for it on
Yeah.
fourth down, got the fourth down. Now they're up 44-35."
Yep. So that game looks like it's over. And we do have a question from John about that. So the Bills lose. Do they drop in our rankings?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't. I see. Like I was talking about with the Rams before. This Rams team, they can score at a high clip. Nobody can shoot on Matthew Stafford. That guy can still ball out, and he's balling out today here, 23 for 30. Kyron Williams had a good day, which is helping out my fantasy team, which is great. That's great there because trying to lock up the 1 seed in the playoffs has been ridiculous. So it's good. It's good there. But you got Puka Nacua. You have Cooper Kupp you have to deal with out there. I mean, this is a pretty good offense for the Rams. They can win shootouts. I really do think they can still win shootouts. And they're shooting it out with the Bills today, and the Bills are trying to go toe-to-toe, and it's, it happens. It happens on the road. Maybe the Bills are caught. I believe they play the Lions next week. Maybe they're caught looking ahead there. I mean, it could be. I don't know. But, I mean, it doesn't make me think less of the Bills. I still think the Bills are a good football team. I really do. I am happy with college football right now, Jory. I am happy with college football. Alabama should not have got in.
I was about to say for Jory, I would say probably wait for your show because I know your show after this we'll talk about.
Yeah, Jory, be on there. Kyle will be there. I'll be there. We'll be talking college football playoff. You be there. Don't yell at me right now. Yell at me over there.
Yeah. So I think what the Buffalo part of this is looking at them in the AFC, like you have the Chiefs, whatever. Would the loss of the Rams and looking at how the Steelers played today, would you put the Steelers ahead of Buffalo in terms of the AFC ranking?
No, I would. What I would say is, okay, you got to play tale of two here. Offensively, Josh Allen, I know John just said something about Josh Allen is up there for MVP talks. He's throwing for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns today, and he's got an average of 9 yards per pass right now, and he's also ran for 72 yards. So the MVP conversation is still fine. Like, Josh Allen is still doing his thing today. It's the defense is giving up 44 points on the backside of that there. So does it do anything? The offense for the Bills is good. The defense, still skeptical on it at times. For the Steelers, I think the offense is like give or take for me. The defense is what holds them, right? So you're playing two there. If the Bills can somehow take advantage of that really good defense there for the Steelers, then the Bills would be my top team then, right? Because the Bills, they're offensively, I think they're better than them. But if your defense holds, the Bills are going to be screwed, right? I think that Russell Wilson will figure out ways to make things happen there. So I still like the Bills. I think the Bills are still ahead of the Steelers there. I think the Chiefs are still the top team. So I still have the Bills up top there.
Mm-hmm. John has rankings: Bills, Eagles, Lions, Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about the NFC, anybody can. I truthfully believe anybody can beat anybody. They haven't proven it, right? Because the Lions are 12-1, but I still think anybody can beat anybody. And the Eagles, they showed cracks today against the Panthers. The Bills showed cracks against the Rams today. The Steelers, their offense is hit or miss for me at times. Like they're hit or miss, but the defense is still great. I did see today four former Badgers were on the defensive line for the Steelers at one time for multiple plays. So that was really cool. That was really cool to see was four former Badgers running the front for the Steelers. Like I don't know if that's ever happened. I'll be honest with you. I would have to do a deep history dive, but I don't know if there has been an NFL defensive line before that has been made up of, like, let's just say all Alabama guys or all Georgia guys. Like, I don't know if that's ever happened. So it's really cool to see four Badgers on the defensive line there for the Steelers. So that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I have been impressed by the Steelers. I thought what the Steelers did today, like Russ just looks like Russ looks like he's having fun again. I think the Denver season messed with him a lot, probably had him doubting his ability. But as you've seen, you get him into a situation like Pittsburgh knows who they are. At times, Arthur Smith with the play call can be a little whatever, but they know what they know what they are. They know how they're going to attack teams. With Russ there, he has a bit of a sense of like a security blanket with that defense and how tough that they are. But he's making plays that he was not making in Denver. And I think with their home field, with their defense, with his ability, I think Pittsburgh's going to be tough. Now, it will depend, obviously, who they have to play on their road. But I don't know. I think they might have edged ahead of Buffalo for me. And that's with me, still thinking that Buffalo is going to factor into the AFC for sure. I don't think a loss to the Rams today, knocks them out or anything like that. I still think that they are a good team. Josh Allen, if he puts up performances like he does today, they more often than not probably win the game. It's just that Matt Stafford has made some throws over the past few weeks that let you know, like, he's still a very good quarterback. Puka Nacua is an incredible pass catcher. And with that, like they're hanging around.
Yeah.
I think their path is probably still only the division to get in. So now they kind of have to chase down Seattle. But we also saw early in the season, like with Seattle, they can go on a couple of week run where they play well, and then they can flip the switch off and start losing. And I think the Rams, out of anybody else in that division, look like they're primed to take advantage of that if Seattle does do that.
And look who Seattle has left. Packers, Vikings, and then you have the Bears. But then you have the Rams to finish out the season. Packers and Vikings are both vying a playoff spot yet. I mean, they both feel comfortable, but you got the Packers up next. Then you play the Vikings, and then you play the Rams last week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything left to play for, I don't know. The Rams are going to be a hot team, and it's in LA for that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, this is what the NFL loves every year. Like coming out to the end of it, you're getting drama all over the place. And between the West and what they got going on, I think the AFC's wild card race is interesting somewhat. I mean, the Colts are the team that's first out, and they're 2 games behind. But just seeing where the Chargers, Ravens, and Broncos are all jockeying for position, I think that is fascinating because I feel like they're all fighting to get to 5 to face Houston in the wild card round as opposed to Pittsburgh or Buffalo. So that, like right now, the Chargers are there, but the Chargers have a tough game. Was it tonight against the Chiefs? They're Sunday night football, not Monday night. Yeah. So if the Chargers get that one, you might have to start really paying attention to the Chargers going forward. But we'll have to see what's going on there. And then the NFC, like I said, the race at the top is interesting with the Lions and the Eagles, even though the Eagles are shaky, and the Vikings, I guess you have to throw in there. With the Lions at 12-1, Eagles and Vikings are both 11-2. the wild card race is what, like I said, it's kind of like the AFC. You figure the teams that are already in the wild card are going to be there, but I guess between the Packers and the Commanders, who can get that 6th seed and face a Seahawks team potentially in the wild card round, as opposed to dropping to 7 and facing the Eagles. Like, there's a lot that these teams have to play for, even though I think like the playoff lines are probably cut off, and these are the teams that we'll see in there making the playoffs. But still a lot of intrigue left to go. And look, we got a lot of these teams that are out of it who are capable of playing spoiler to one of these teams that are in the playoff spot. You know, we've seen Carolina play teams tough. We've seen, I mean, I guess the Cardinals, if they're on their game, they can beat a lot of teams. So it's not going to be easy for any of them either. So it's going to be a decent stretch run here.
I kind of want, if I'm the Packers, to get the 7th seed. I kind of want to face the Eagles right off the bat. Get them, and then in the second round of playoffs, then you have, like, I don't know, the winner of the NFC South, or you got, you know, the West, the freaking Seahawks or somebody else, and then you look ahead, and then you have the Lions. Like, you get a break. Otherwise, if you get you get that 6, right, you'd face off with the 3 seed. So if you win that game on the road, then you have to go on the road to Philly, and then you go on the road to Detroit. It just almost feels like the path's a little clearer if you beat Philly right off the bat, and then you go to Seattle, and then you go to Ford Field and take on the Lions.
I mean, that's actually, it's not a bad way to think about it.
See, I'd rather face the top dog right off the bat, catch them off guard, right into the playoffs. Don't give the Eagles any time to settle in.
As Anthony says, the Bills are about to score. Yeah, they're on the Rams 1. It'd be about a minute left, so you might get the old onside kick here involved.
You got to announce it, though. Don't forget. You got to announce it to everybody. We're kicking an onside kick here.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, everybody knows you're doing one.
Right. It's so stupid. Like, why do you have to announce it? Like, we all know.
I doubt that sticks around.
Right. It's just like, we all know you're kicking an onside kick. Like, my favorite onside kicks were the ones that nobody expected coming. Like, those are the great ones. Those are the historic ones. Why do you have to change that? Just let it ride. Like, this whole stupid, I don't even know how I feel about the kickoff rule yet, because they put up all these bogus stats all the time that tell me that there's so many more returns in the NFL. And then I watch the Packers games, and it's like 1 return throughout the entire game. And I'm like, where are they getting 26%? Like, or whatever wherever the number is, like, where are they getting this stat from? Sometimes it's silly. Like, I'm just like, maybe it is, but kickers still bomb it through the back of the end zone. Like, that's what they do. I don't, if you wanted more returns, I don't know, penalize them for kicking it through the back of the end zone. Like, I saw the Falcons made Minnesota return one today by just like shooting a little squibber out there. Like, kickers are kickers. If they don't want you to return it, they're going to bomb it through the back of the end zone. We're going to move on. And they're still going to do it to this day. Whether you change the kickoff rule or not, it's not going to promote more. It's going to reduce injuries. I will agree with that. It should reduce injuries. But outside of that, it's not promoting more guys to try and return the football. Yeah. Where would you rather get it? Try and return it and get it out to the 20-yard line, or just let it, kneel it, or let it go through the back of the end zone and get it out at the 30? I'm going to take it as most teams would take the 30.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel like the games I watch, I feel like there are more returns, yes. But there are certain kickers who do just bomb it out of the back of the end zone. That's probably because they might not trust their coverage team or anything like that. I like the new kickoff rule. It took some time to get used to, because it was odd seeing them lined up so close to each other, and then you go. But then it's like, by doing that, it allows the returner, at least the good returners, to get a full head of steam without guys just flying down the field at them.
Yeah.
So it does do that. I think special teams coordinators can be creative with, like, running a reverse on the kickoff, or doing like Tennessee Buffalo, the little miracle that they had, where you had a guy run to one side of the field, throw back to the other side, and get a return that way. It allows for creativity. I think that alone, I'm fine with it. I guess as we wind down here, because this has been mentioned twice now, MVP Josh Allen. Are you with that? Are you leaning towards somebody else? What do you think?
I listened to your show you had the other night there. What the heck's his name? He was freaking out about it for a while there. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, though. But you got to throw it. Stats mean nothing. Stats mean nothing when it comes to this. When it comes to MVP, stats mean nothing. Because if it was up to stats, Joe Burrow would be the MVP of football. Like it has nothing to do with stats. I hate when people are like, "Oh, Lamar Jackson's got so many rushing yards and he does this and he does that." Look at Joe Burrow's passing yards. Look at his QBR. Look at everything of Joe Burrow this season. If you want to go stats, he wins, right? It's who is the most valuable player to your team first. That's what matters. And then it's what did they do for your team that puts you over the top to get you to the playoffs? Into the playoffs at least, right? Josh Allen's doing that for the Bills right now. You went into the season, and I couldn't name half the receivers that were on his team. I didn't know who was even coming back, right? He had Dalton Kincaid, right? Outside of that, I was like, who? He leads the team in rushing tonight, right? I mean, it's just Shakir. I didn't know anything really about Shakir coming into this season. And you look at the defense. They had an iffy defense coming into this season. They lost a lot of pieces. And you were like, well, are they going to be able to win football games? Will they even win the AFC, not North, West, East, AFC East? Mm-hmm. Will they win the East? And it was like, oh, the Jets will probably do it. Oh, the Dolphins will do it. And it's like, no, they're now going to be 10-3 because I believe, the Rams just got it back. So game's over there. Rams will win that one. But I don't take this 2-point loss, 44-42. And Josh Allen goes 22 for 37, 342 yards, and 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns in that game.
Somewhere Joe Burrow sitting around like, yeah, it's not just me, huh?
It's not. It's like, what more could he have done in this game to get it there, right? And most valuable player is judged off of who is the most important player on your team, right? Jalen Hurts would not be up for an MVP right now because Saquon Barkley is the most important piece on his team. Derrick Henry is the most important part on the Baltimore Ravens team because when they realized that he was there after the first couple of games, when they realized they had Derrick Henry, for some reason they forgot, they started to take off and it looked good again. And Derrick Henry has been impressive this season. So Josh Allen has been the most impressive player to me who has impacted his team in a successful way this season and led them to wins and benefited from. Look at that game against the 49ers in the snow, all the crazy crap that he was doing in that one. Like, that's just ridiculous stuff. And yes, Josh Allen is my MVP. I think you could talk about Saquon. I think you could. But Lamar Jackson, he's not the most important player on his team. How can he be the most valuable player in football? It just doesn't work out.
I absolutely co-sign that fully. And I do think I feel like this is the year that if you didn't want to get to a quarterback, you'd be justified to. And like you said, I think it would be Saquon. Jory also put that Baltimore's coaching ruined Derrick Henry's chances.
Baltimore's coaching's ruining their season at this very moment.
Right.
Along with Justin Tucker. Don't forget about him.
So I think if they had used Henry the same way the Eagles are using Barkley, yes, Henry would have a better argument, but he doesn't. I think if you're looking at a quarterback and you want to give it to a quarterback, yes, Burrow without that record would probably get it easily. But I think it has to be Josh Allen. I know Jory knows, everyone else knows. That's not going to be a popular opinion because it seems like for the past 5 or 6 weeks, people have told themselves Lamar's going to get his third MVP. But you also have to look at it as coming into this season, the Ravens were seen as a Super Bowl contending team. They were seen as the biggest challenger to the Chiefs. If you kind of go to this point and you look at where the Ravens are now, are they the biggest threat to the Chiefs? No. Are they a Super Bowl contender? I would say no. So they would technically have regressed from where you thought they were going to be before the season. Looking at Buffalo, most people thought this was going to be a down year for Buffalo with no Stephon Diggs. Tre'Davious White, all these guys on defense are either hurt, coming back from an injury, or gone. And Josh Allen had no star receiver to throw to. Most people thought if they made the playoffs, they'd barely get in as a wild card, or they probably were going to miss the playoffs completely. Fast forward to today, they're sitting right up there as one of the top teams in the AFC. And based off of a couple weeks ago when they beat Kansas City, you'd have to say the Bills are one of those teams that could challenge Kansas City in the playoffs. What's been the difference with Buffalo this year? A much improved Josh Allen. The interceptions I feel like are way down, especially the crazy ones where he used to just drop back and just throw bombs down the field in triple coverage and they get picked off. He stopped that. I just think it's his to win. If you're going to give it to a quarterback, I would still say I would go Barkley. Just overall would be the MVP. Then I would go Josh Allen. But if you're going to give it to a quarterback, give it to Josh Allen. And Lamar fans will just have to deal with it. They can scream, that the league's against them or whatever. It's like, no, you got to be real with yourself. They are not where they're supposed to be, so your guy cannot be MVP.
No. If you want to do
stats, the Ravens are 8-5 and destined to lose a couple of more games. Give her a break. That's very true as well.
I completely agree. I mean, like we're saying, you want to talk stats. If Ravens fans want to talk stats, then Joe Burrow wins the MVP. Like, if you want to talk stats, if we're giving this award out for stats, then that's the answer. And that is the complete answer. Because why is Jared Goff not in any of these conversations when his team is 12-1 right now and he's passed for over 3,000 yards already and he's up there in yards per game and he's up there in average pass and he's up there in everything right now. He's limited the turnovers. Yes, he's got 10 interceptions. It's not great at all, but I mean, still solid, 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. But would you say that Jared Goff's the most important person on his team? No, I wouldn't, because when you have a backfield of Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and then you have wide receivers like you do, and you have a quarterback like you do, and you have a defense like you do. I mean, that whole team you could call an MVP. Like, they're just all around that good. So it's hard, but I like Jared. That's what I'm saying. Jared Goff would have to be up there if you want to talk stats with Lamar Jackson. I think it comes down to who has done the most with what he has, and I think that's Josh Allen. Like, he is the most important person on his team and has elevated his team to a playoff spot. Lamar Jackson has not elevated his team. Actually, I think Derrick Henry has helped elevate that team. And when you have something like that, then I think it comes back to there.
I love it. I mean, normally I get called a hater with a point like that, but I see it's common in here. So this is a safe space, I guess. Anthony says, you're not giving MVP to a team that's not leading their division. I think that's a fair point. And look, if Russ maybe was there week one and was playing like this, you might have to throw Russ into the equation, because if you look at him with Pittsburgh when he took over, what the team looked like and what they look like now, he's definitely been very valuable to that team. But obviously he hasn't played enough games, so he's not going to factor into it.
He's already thrown for 1,600 yards. In how many games has he played in so far here? 6? He's got 6 games played on the season so far. That's impressive. That's good stats. For a guy who's as old as he is, with, I mean, not really relying on the offense. Like, you got Pickens, but you're not really relying on the offense to get the job done. And he's getting the job done on the offensive side of the football too. So, I mean, I would completely agree. You could throw a guy like that, his name in the ring, if he was out there the whole time. He would be up there. I truthfully believe he'd be up there. I don't know if he'd be up in the 3,000s yet, but he'd be high 2,000s. Probably like Matthew Stafford's got 2,900. I could see him like up in there, up in that range.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Russ might get comeback player of the year.
He could, if it's not Sam freaking Darnold. Sam Darnold's all over the place right now, so.
Yeah, most likely. We've gotten a little bit over the hour mark. I feel like we've gotten to a
71 points in fantasy.
I hope I did not face anybody who had Josh Allen in any of my leagues, because that's crazy right there.
I did not. I faced Mo this week. He must have gave up on fantasy because he had CJ Stroud starting, who was on a bye. He's still almost beating me, and he has 2 guys who aren't even playing this week in Pittman or Stroud there. Let's see here. Who had Josh Allen? Nope, nobody?
No, that can't be true.
That can't be true. Somebody's got to have Josh Allen.
What if Mo had him and just said,
Dylan had Kyler Murray, and he has Josh Allen on his bench. Kyler Murray gave him 17 points in fantasy today. Josh Allen goes, well, I don't know. 71 must be on a different fantasy app because on ESPN he got 51. So I don't know what fantasy app is, but
Yeah,
the Jalen
it's
Waddle
still
must have gone
impressive.
off too.
51.
Jalen Waddle had 20 points. You had Brock Purdy too there with 20. I guess Jalen Hurts got you 24 anyway, so that's okay.
Yeah, that's like the tricky part.
Kyle got the big win. Kyle's looking like he's going to get the win. He's still got Joe Burrow and Dicker the kicker.
That's the tricky part with fantasy. It's like the guy who you play for 3 weeks and gives you nothing. You sit him that 4th week, and that's when he goes off. And that's where it's like, it is such a crapshoot.
Yep.
So,
I went through all day today. I was like, should I start Jawan Jennings? And he had 28 points today. But I still got Jamar Chase. I don't know. He's got right now, he's got Travis Kelce left, and he's got CeeDee Lamb. And I'm winning 118-76. So if Lamb and Kelce go off, and all I got is Jamar Chase, unless he gives me like a 51 burger against Dallas, he could still give me. He could give me a 51 burger again against Dallas' secondary there. Joe Burrow's going to light him up there. So, I mean, you got Joe Burrow as your quarterback too. So, no, you don't. Who's got him? You got him. You got Joe Burrow. I mean, yeah, we both need it. So, I mean, 6 touchdowns all to Jamar Chase. We can work with that.
So Anthony said it's on Sleeper. I've never run a league on Sleeper. I've thought about it.
I've never heard of it, but I imagine it's a great fantasy app.
I feel like it's kind of recent. I don't know.
Apparently, you get explosive points because he got 71. That's 20 more points than what they gave him on ESPN.
Yeah. So Sleeper's got something in there.
Touchdowns count as 14 points instead of 7 points.
Right. But yeah, so look, I feel like that's a good place to end it with this one. We'll definitely be back next week as we will be a week closer to the playoffs. Who knows? More teams might clinch a spot and we'll have a better idea of matchups and everything like that. We may start looking at that. But yeah, I mean, Trajan, anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Well, if anybody wants to, Jory, I know you're talking about college football playoff. John, Anthony, I know you guys are all talking college football playoff. Kyle and I, we're going to be out with Aaron probably about 10 minutes from now. We'll be on my channel over there. We're going to talk about, I got a whole mess of things to talk about tonight here. We got NFL, we have college football playoff. We got all things to get into tonight here. So make sure you guys get on. Jory's coming over.
Hey, we're here for it.
We're here for it. We want you in the comments section. We want to hear what you got to tell us about Alabama. We can't wait.
Yeah.
I heard Jory that Nick Saban's coming back. I heard he's coming back next season after this 3 losses this season. He can't handle
Nick Saban's having too much fun on TV.
He went to ESPN to even try to hype up the nation about Alabama, and they still dissed on him.
Yeah, he's like Belichick. You know, Belichick's supposed to go to North Carolina. I thought Belichick was having way too much.
He can't.
He's having way too much fun with the Mannings and all that. It'd be weird to see him now go back to coaching. It's like, just stay on TV. You're good. One last
thing. Picture you're an 18-year-old kid on your couch. Can you really picture Bill Belichick sitting there trying to tell you why you should come to North Carolina? Can you really picture that in the back of your head? The way that he ran crap over there? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I could see it. The way that he is, I just don't.
Walk in and just flash Patriots, hardware and be like, come to North Carolina. I'll get you prepared.
No, cut off hoodie. He walks out in a cut off hoodie.
Yeah, cut off hoodie, North Carolina. He's just like, I'm the real deal. Come on in. We're gonna win some games. We might make the playoff. I'll get you to the NFL.
You're just a recruit sitting at your house, and you're like, who the hell's walking up on the front lawn there in a cutoff? Is that Bill Belichick? Oh, geez.
I would be interested to see it. I think it's going to be, if it does happen, like it would be
fascinating. It would be fascinating. Like, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate to see it, but like at the same time, like, would it work? I don't know. I don't know if he's got the same. The way that he was, his personality as a coach, he would almost have to today's youth, He'd have to dial back his anger just a tiny bit, because I feel like the way that he tried to coach it and the way that guys coach it now, it would be just, I don't know. And you'd have to be tough enough to play at North Carolina, that's for sure.
I think he's one of those who could do it. I think he understands NFL. You treat them one way. I think coaching, he'll be like, I'm more of a teacher. I'm just trying to break habits, and I think he'll have a different approach to it. Because a lot of guys who play for him say, like, you get him in the locker room, he's a different personality. I think you'll probably just see more of that personality in a college setting than necessarily NFL, where it's like it's business. You got to keep it real serious. Like I think he would work, but I mean, look, Anthony says he has a hot take on it, but he'll save it for your show. So there's a tease there.
All right, Anthony, you bring it up on the backside there. You do. But
I
if
think
there's
Jordan has
one
a good
thing I
point
got to
there,
say,
like, Saban loves calling out Jordan. There's no ramifications because he's on TV as an analyst.
yeah, though, this is true. This is true there. I guess in today's college football, too, you need a GM almost. He's been a GM. He understands how to be a GM. So, like, maybe that would work out in his favor, too, there. So, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, Anthony, we can't wait for your hot take on it. We'll wait and see your hot take.
Yes. I mean, got to live up to it because I want the hottest take you got. You're teasing it
sizzling
minutes before. So, but yeah, like I said, make sure you travel over to Trajan's channel, Wisconsin Sports on the Go, here in a little bit, where, yes, I will be on with Aaron, and we'll talk about all this, and we'll see where the conversation goes. I mean, I know Aaron has a team in the playoff. I would love to hear what he has to say.
John, play nice. Play
you
nice.
And I, we don't have teams in the playoffs, so our point of view could be completely different. So, yeah, we will definitely have some fun over there. McAfee has got to him. I couldn't imagine not working with McAfee and not having him rub off on you a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
no, I would agree.
Yeah, McAfee's great. But yeah, so make sure you guys come back next week. Snap counts next Sunday, 7 o'clock. I mean, not 7 o'clock. Sorry, 6:30 for more of the same. And make sure you like this episode as well as follow and subscribe to Integrity Sports Network. That way you're alerted next time the channel goes live, which would be Tuesday. Well, Tuesday you have On the Ball. Might have a special edition, Passion and Precision, tomorrow. You have to look out for that. And you know how the rest of the week goes. So, yeah, with that, for Trajan and myself, enjoy the rest of your night. For about 10 minutes or so, you come on back to Trajan's channel, and we'll be back with it. Jory, my co-host, says, there you go, co-signed it Monday. So Passion and Precision will be on Monday. Okay, I think I went through everything. So we'll see you all in a little bit. We're out of here. See you.